Hey guys, Palpatine here. Today we're gonna deep dive into Suomi, the global launch banner character. First, I just want to say the launch yesterday was so smooth. I played it for like 4 hours and it was everything I had hoped for. Like, oh my god, I love the character designs and their personalities are so colorful and lovable. It's just definitely going to be my main game going forward. So, without further ado, Suomi's deep dive. First, I'll just briefly explain the chart here. So we got 8 categories. Each category is weighted differently. So a skills category is weighted 25%, stats at 18%, gears at 12%, etc., etc. The popularity is weighted at 6% and usage rate is weighted at 5%. So I understand popularity is pretty subjective here. But in my experience, a lot of people, they do care about a popularity of a unit. So therefore, we do have it on the chart, but it's only going to be 5%. So it's not going to change the ranking all that much. So Suomi's base stats gets an 80% on the chart. Her attack stat is pretty solid and her defense stat is very high, which is great because her damage output actually scales off of her defense stat, and her defense stat is only a little bit lower than Sabrina, who has the highest defense stat in the game. And Suomi's HP stat is pretty high too, and she has a 6 movement and 10 stability, which are average for a support character. In essence, she really has the perfect stat for her role here. For gear and attachment synergies, 80 points. You want to use Ultimate Pursuit here, which makes her skill 4 more and more effective over longer battles. And we're gonna refer to character skills as skill 1, 2, 3, 4 here. 1 being their basic attack, which no one really is gonna use all that much. And then you have skills 2, 3, and 4. And skill 4 is mostly the ultimate skills for characters. So if you have a V1 Suomi, emergency repair attachment is also good for the extra stability restore here. For stability damage category, she gets a perfect 100 points. This is interesting because it's kind of hidden behind her debuff called Avalanche, which we're gonna dive into a little bit later. For stability recovery, 85 points because she has this AoE instant recovery as your party needs. So potentially your entire party is gonna benefit from this if you position your units correctly. For her keys, 80 points, solid, but not like the best, but just solid. Popularity is 95 points because Krukai 416 has got her beat in China in this category. What can I say? People are just nuts for Krukai 416. For usage rate, it's rightfully 100 points perfect, which means if you pulled her, you're gonna use her in pretty much everything. She's just that good. Okay, now the big one, skills. She gets an insane 95 points because her skills are easy to use. She'll mostly use skill 2 and 4. Skill 3 is rarely used because it costs 1 confectance index. So her skill 2 has a 1 turn cooldown and doesn't do a lot of damage, maybe a couple of hundred max. But for every ally within her attack range, which is 6 tiles, she does 2 points of stability damage. So for parties of 4, you got 3 other units, and then for a party of 5, you got 4 other units, right? So, which is potentially 8 points of stability damage, and that's pretty insane. Her skill 3 is pretty good, but it does cost 1 point of Confectance Index, which we're just gonna call it CI for short from now on. So her skill 3 costing 1 CI is actually kind of a big deal, since you wanna save your CI for skill 4, which is your ultimate, and it costs 5 CI. But of course, sometimes skill 3 can come super handy because it gives a massive shield to one ally. And this shield actually goes on top of your HP bar, so it's all extra effective health here. And once the skill gets broken, the attacker that broke the skill, that broke the shield, can't move for a turn. Which is pretty big as well. One thing to note is that her skill 3's shield amount is based off of 130% of her initial attack. So stacking some attack on Suomi will actually noticeably make her shields a lot stronger. Now we'll talk about her skill 4, her ultimate, which is what really defines her. It's a huge AoE damage and shielding skill, and most importantly, it applies 2 stacks of avalanche debuff. What is avalanche debuff? So once an enemy gets afflicted by this avalanche, if you then use your other units to apply any sort of ice type debuff, it'll increase the avalanche stack by 1. And when the avalanche stack goes to 5, the enemy instantly loses 8 stability points. So if you make an ice team and you start stacking those ice debuffs with all your units, you can basically AoE remove like all the enemy's stability, which is what makes Suomi really the best stability breaker in the entire game. But as you're probably aware by now, having ice teammates makes a pretty big difference here. It'll really amplify Suomi's effectiveness immensely. One example of a good ice teammate for Suomi would be Dusha Vanya's skill 3, and Macchiato is also a great ally as well. So going back to Suomi's ultimate skill 4, it also dispels 1 debuff and removes taunt. Like, Jesus Christ, this utility is just insane because taunt is really annoying when you get hit with it because it causes you to lose control of that unit. And that's really bad in strategy games because you want to be in control at all times. Suomi's passive is also just sick. Literally at the end of her action, she'll just gain 2 CI. No other requirements needed. She just like, boom, gains 2 CI every time she ends her turn. And it recovers HP for all allies within a 6 tile radius, which can then be buffed to 7 tiles. So essentially, like, between all of Suomi's shields and heals, unless you're fighting something crazy hard, you don't really even need to bring a healer anymore. As for keys, you definitely want to bring the one that gives you 3 CI at the start of the battle, so you can use your ultimate right away on turn 1. It's also recommended to bring the one that where if your stability is not 0 at the end of your action, you recover 10% of your max HP and increase stability by 1. That one is also super good. I almost forgot. So for her ultimate, it makes a big difference when you use it relative to your allies' turn order. So if possible, you want to let Suomi pop her ult last after all your units already acted. because this is because of the way her turn counter works for her shield. So the turn counter for her shield actually goes down, decreases when the unit that gets the shield finishes their turn. So let me give you an example, right? So if you run Suomi with Groza, if you pop Suomi's ult first on Groza and gives her the shield, and then Groza goes, at the end of Groza's turn, the turn counter for the shield goes down by 1. But if you reverse that, if you let Groza go first and then you pop Suomi's ult on Groza and gives her that shield buff, then the shield counter only goes down after the next round at the end of Groza's turn. So you essentially maximizes your shield buff by letting Suomi go last. And that's if you want your shield to last as long as possible. However, for really hard boss stages, you probably want to pop Suomi's ult first, because the boss gets that avalanche debuff, which is huge, right? Then you can start piling on other ice debuffs with your other units to stack it to 5 for 8 points of stability damage. Lastly, I want to mention that V1, so 1 dupe, is actually very important for Suomi, because you get a huge buff to your ultimate, which allows it to give your allies an AoE heal, and it increases stability points for your allies, and you get additional shield, and your allies if your allies are already at full HP, they get this regen over time buff as well. Huge upgrade with just 1 dupe. It also means that if you bring emergency repair attachment, that one gets an upgrade with V1 as well, because when you heal somebody to full, they get an additional 2 stability points. So that concludes our deep dive for Suomi today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna be pumping out these deep dive videos for every single character in the game. So if you want to see a particular character, just leave a comment down below and I'll probably prioritize that character. And as you guys can see, I don't know anything about making videos or content. That's not my area. The reason I'm making these videos now is because I just love this game. I love everything about it. The characters, the story, the music, the way the game has been run in China was awesome, because there were, I believe, a lot of controversy and drama in the beginning, but the developers really took their time and effort to build the community, and it seems like the fan sentiment in China has only been increasing and getting more positive over time, and that's a super good sign to see. Anyway, thank you so much again for watching. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.